Good day, everyone. This is Trinity Music Academy and Allied Services. Today, we want to talk about voltage regulator. So, we'll be showing you different voltage regulators, how to identify voltage regulators, how to test voltage regulators, and how voltage regulators function. So, voltage regulators, they are one of the most important components in the circuit or on PCB, printed circuit board. So, they take in higher voltage and they supply out a bit of lower voltage. So most of the one on keyboards, they are called step down voltage regulators. So the input voltage are always higher than the output voltage. Now for you to be able to identify voltage regulators on the PCB, whether on power panel, which is analog motherboard, or digital panel, which is the main board, so you need to get the schematics of that particular one. For example, this is the schematics of Yamaha PSR E443. So this is the analog part of it. So we can see the model below, PSR E443. So that's the model. Now this particular power panel has only one voltage regulators, which is this. So you can see regulator plus 5 volts. That shows that the output pin of this particular voltage regulator must supply approximately 5 volts. And let's look at the power panel here in practical. So this is the power panel of PSR E443. So it can also be used for PSR E433. So according to what we have here, we have only one voltage regulator there, which is IC201. So this is IC201. That shows this is the voltage regulator on this particular power panel. And they said it is plus 5 volts. That shows that the output pin must give us plus 5 volts. So when you hold regulator, for you to be able to know the arrangement of pin or pin out, so this is 7805. So this is the input pin by the left hand side. This is the ground pin, and this is the output pin by the right hand side. Input, ground, output. So this particular panel has been breached, the switch has been breached already, so voltage is going to be supplied to it. So we want to test now to confirm if the voltage regulator on this power panel is good or not, since we know what we are supposed to get, like the output voltage must give us plus 5 volts. So we have already connected it to adapter. Then this is multimeter. So multimeter is used to test voltage regulator. You can use analog, you can use digital, but I usually prefer to use digital one. So, and this is the voltage regulator we want to actually test. So the ground pin is the middle, is at the middle. So the black probe of your meter here must be at the middle, must be at the ground pin, which is the middle pin. So this is the ground already connected. Now for us to get the input or the output, so this particular one is the input, and we can see the value there, 10.91. So the input from this regulator is 12 volts. So from this adapter is 12 volts, but it has passed through all this capacitor and some of the components here, so that is why it has reduced. So 10.91 is the input for this particular regulator. And let us check the output here. According to the manual, they said the output must be plus 5 volts, and what we see here, we see plus 5 volts. Sometimes you can see 4.99 something, or 4.98, or 4.94. So the approximate value of this particular voltage, if it is okay, must be at 5 volts. So that shows that this voltage regulator on this power panel is okay. In case you test your own and it's anything maybe less than 4.5 or something, the voltage regulator is bad. So, and if you get 0 volts too, the voltage regulator is bad. Now I want to show us the all these regulators we have here on the microscope, so that we can see the value very well, and I can explain to us what each of the pin is talking about. So as you can see, this particular one at the middle, this is 7812. That shows that the input can be anything above 12 volts, or let me say around 15-16 volts, but the output must be approximately plus 12 volts. I'm talking about this one. Now this is the input pin for this particular regulator, this is the input pin, this is the ground pin, and this is the output pin for this particular one. Then this one too, it is 7805. That shows that the output must be what, must be plus 5 volts, which is here. But you can see that this one is iron and this one is plastic. As far as this one is iron, it is mostly preferable to be attached or to be mounted on heat sink, so that the heat generated during the process of regulating the voltage is going to be absorbed by the heat sink. Then this particular one is also a voltage regulator, and we can see that it has 4 pins, 7809. So for this one, the pin out is different from 7805. Now this particular pin by the left hand side, the first pin, this is the input pin, and this one, this is the output pin, the second one. The third one is the ground pin, and the fourth one is the switch pin. So any 4 pin voltage regulator, the fourth pin is always referred to as the switch pin. So if it is active, then the voltage will be supplied out. If it is bad, voltage will not be supplied out, even if it is supplying the right voltage. So it's one of the evidence, or it's one of the testing method for voltage regulator. And the other ones, they are same thing. This is 7805, we have tested it before, and this one is 2933. That shows that the output pin of this one must be 3.3 volts. So this is the input, this is the ground, and this is the output. So the output of this one will be 3.3 volts. So these ones are the analog voltage regulator. So these are the ones that are you can easily see. And for you to be able to identify voltage regulator, it's not just every component that has 3 pin like this, that looks like this, so everything is not voltage regulator. For this one now, you can see that this one is B1568. This one is a transistor. So this one is not a what? Is a bipolar BPJ is a bipolar junction transistor. Is not a voltage regulator. So if you replace voltage regulator with this one, it's not going to work well. So you should be able to have the schematic so that you can identify the voltage regulator in each panel. So we are done with analog voltage regulator. Now let us move on to the digital one. So all these ones are digital motherboard. For example, this one is the digital motherboard for Yamaha PSR S670. So if we look at it very well, let us check the schematics of PSR S670. So we can see that we have like 4 voltage regulators there. So this is a 12 volt dropper, is a voltage regulator. This is another 5 volt dropper voltage regulator. 3.3 volts is a voltage regulator. Then we have another one here, 1.2 volts. They are voltage regulator. So coming to the practical aspect, which is the board. So all the voltage regulators they are talking about is this 1, 2, 3, 4. That shows that we can have more than one voltage regulator on the motherboard. Now when we have more than one voltage regulator, all of them, they are not performing the same function. So there are specific components that each of those voltage regulators they are supplying voltage for. For example, now this particular one, this is 12 volts regulator, and this is 5 volt regulator. Both of them, they are working for sound. They are not working for this keyboard to come up. So if this one is bad, as well, this keyboard will still come up, this keyboard will still function, but the sound is not going to come out, because the voltage regulator that's supposed to supply voltage for them, they are bad. So in case you see your keyboard working and you discover that but the voltage regulator is bad, why will it still be working? That shows that the voltage regulator that is bad is not functioning as the main one that is supplying to the CPU. But let us look at this. This is 3.3 volts regulator, so it is supplying digital voltage to all of the digital, most of the digital components here, especially this one. This is the CPU and the tone generator. So it is what? It is the 3.3 that is supplying for them. The same thing, 3.3 supply to this main room. Then this SD RAM, this is DSP or effects RAM. 3.3 supplies to this one. This is the working SD RAM. The two of them. 3.3 is needed here. So if 3.3 is bad for this particular keyboard, this keyboard will not come up at all. If there's no supply of 3.3 here, so this keyboard is not going to function at all. So that is why you need to know which component is the voltage regulator is supplying voltage for. So I think we are done with this. Now let's look at this particular one. This is digital motherboard for Yamaha PSR S950, S950. Like I told you before, for you to be able to know how many voltage regulators are there, you need to go to the schematics. So from the schematics, they will point at all the voltage regulators here. You can see for the one here, You can see that regulator 1.5 volts, then another regulator 1.5 volts, another regulator 1.2 volts, another regulator 5 volts. So now when you look at the board here, the 5 volt, all the voltage regulators that are talking about is this one is what, 5 volt regulator, this is 1.5, this is 1.5, and this is 1.2. Now this particular one, 5 volt regulator, supply voltage to the sound related component here. So even if this one is bad, it does not stop this keyboard from coming up, it does not stop this keyboard from functioning, but it's going to stop it from producing sound because this particular one is bad. But if these two are bad, because these two are supplying voltage to this and to this, then this particular 1.2 is supplying voltage to the main CPU, which is the central processing unit. So if this one is bad, this keyboard is not going to come up at all. It's just 1.2 volts, but that 1.2 volts, if it is missing, this particular one will not function as well. And if this one has issue, the keyboard is not going to come up at all. So the essence of this lesson is just for you to be able to identify voltage regulator on the analog motherboard or the digital motherboard, how many voltage regulators are there, and which components are each of them supplying voltage for. So when you have 6, when you have 10 voltage regulator, you'll be able to trace with the help of these schematics to know so which voltage regulators goes here. For example, look at this particular reset IC. You can see 3.3 volts here. So this 3.3 volts is supplying power to this particular component. The same 3.3 volts is supplying to this. The same, this one now, this PV means 16 volts that is coming from the power panel. So it's supplying to this and it's supplying to this particular one as well. So that is the essence of having the schematics of all the keyboards. When you have them, you can know how many components are there, how do you test them, what is the value they are supposed to give, and what is the function they are supposed to give. And sometimes when you most of the practical way people used to test voltage regulator is when they touch it and it's getting hot. When it's overheating, they say the voltage regulator is bad, but sometimes it may not be the issue. What we need to do is just to check if there is bridge between the input and the ground, because anytime there is bridge between the input and ground, or bridge between the output and ground, this particular voltage regulator will be very hot, and the issue may be coming from where the voltage is coming from. So don't just condemn any IC that you see that it is overheating. So try to check what causes the overheating, because if you insert another IC, the same thing is still going to apply to them. And that is what we do at Trinity Music Academy. When you give us work to do, we are going to diagnose. So what are the issue? How many voltage regulators are there? And some other components too. What are the issue with them? Is voltage supplied, and so many other ones. So in next video, we'll be talking about maybe DC to DC converter, or we cover another aspect of the vital components on the motherboard. If you have any question or you have any inquiry, just feel free to contact us. Our phone numbers are 070-344-81622 or 081-3402-5174, or you can visit us as number 3 Victoria Close off Orchard Street, Diamond Estate bus stop along Isheri Igando Road, here in Lagos, Nigeria. Thanks for watching.